The gun wasn't supposed to be loaded. I'm standing in Sterling Voss's penthouse office, 40 stories above the city that raised me, and I can feel the weight of two envelopes in my jacket pocket. One contains a cashier's check for $12 million. The other contains a single photograph of Isolde sleeping, taken through her bedroom window 3 nights ago. I wasn't supposed to see that second envelope, but I did. And now Sterling Voss, the man who promised to change my life, is reaching slowly toward his desk drawer. "You seem nervous, Callahan," he says, his voice smooth as aged whiskey. "Having second thoughts about our arrangement?" My throat is desert dry. Everything I've worked for over the past 8 months is crystallizing into this single moment. The choice I make in the next 60 seconds will either save me or destroy everything I've ever loved. And the worst part? I did this to myself. Let me back up. Let me tell you how a foster kid from the Riverside district ended up in a $50,000 suit, standing in front of one of the most powerful men in the country, trying to decide if love is worth more than money. Because 3 years ago, I would have laughed at that question. 3 years ago, I knew exactly what I valued. Money meant survival. Money meant never going back to the group homes, never eating from food banks, never wearing donated clothes that smelled like someone else's life. Love? Love was a luxury I couldn't afford. But before I tell you what I decided in that office, before I reveal whether I chose the money or the girl, I need you to understand how I got there. I need you to see what I was before Isolde, before Sterling, before everything went so catastrophically wrong that I ended up standing between a fortune and a heartbeat. Here's what I need from you right now. And I'm asking because if you're watching this, you understand something about difficult choices. Type in the comments where you're watching from. Don't skip past this. Your location, right now. Because this story spans 3 continents and 7 cities, and I want to know where it finds you. And hit that subscribe button immediately. What I'm about to tell you will challenge everything you think you know about sacrifice, redemption, and the price of ambition. You'll want to see this through to the end. Still with me? Good. Because this story starts 3 years ago, in the last place you'd expect to find love or money. It starts in a laundromat. I was 26 years old, working 3 jobs: morning shift at Romano's Construction, afternoons doing freelance web design, and nights as a security guard at the Westmont Shopping Center. I'd sleep in my car sometimes, just to save the commute time between shifts. I was saving every dollar I could, building towards something I couldn't even name yet. Escape, maybe. Proof that I mattered. Proof that a kid who grew up in the system could become someone. The laundromat on 5th and Morrison was open 24 hours, and I'd go there at 2 in the morning when my shift ended, when the fluorescent lights made everyone look like ghosts and the machines hummed like industrial lullabies. That's where I saw her the first time, Isolde Thorne. She was sitting on one of the plastic chairs, reading a book with a broken spine, her dark hair falling across her face. She wore paint-stained jeans and a sweater with holes in the elbows, and she was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Not magazine beautiful, real beautiful. The kind of beautiful that makes you believe the world might be softer than you thought. I didn't talk to her that first night, or the second. I just watched her from across the laundromat, loading my clothes, pretending to check my phone, stealing glances. On the 3rd night, she looked up from her book and caught me staring. "You're not a serial killer, are you?" she said. "What? You've been watching me for 3 weeks. Either you're a serial killer, or you're trying to work up the courage to say hello." I'm hoping it's the second thing. My face went hot. "I'm not a serial killer." Prove it. Buy me coffee from that terrible vending machine. We talked until the sun came up. I learned she was a painter, working on a series about urban isolation. She'd moved here from a small town in Oregon, chasing the same thing I was, a chance to become more than her circumstances. She worked at an art supply store and lived in a studio apartment above a Vietnamese restaurant. She ate pho for breakfast because the owner gave her a discount. She laughed like she meant it. I fell in love with her somewhere between the third and fourth terrible cup of vending machine coffee. Over the next 6 months, Isolde became my entire world. We were both broke, both hungry for something better, both convinced we could build a life out of nothing but effort and hope. We'd spend Sundays in her apartment, her painting while I worked on building my web design portfolio. She'd tell me about the art she wanted to create. I'd tell her about the business I wanted to build. "We're going to make it," she'd say, paint on her fingers, coffee going cold beside her. "Both of us. We're going to be exactly who we're meant to be." I believed her. But belief doesn't pay rent. Belief doesn't fix a broken transmission. Belief doesn't cover emergency room bills when your girlfriend gets pneumonia and doesn't have health insurance. I was 27 when Isolde got sick. Really sick. The kind of sick that requires specialists and medications with names I couldn't pronounce and bills that stacked up like accusations. I worked every hour I could find. I sold everything that wasn't essential. I took out loans from places that charge the kind of interest that keeps you trapped forever. It wasn't enough. I watched the woman I loved get sicker, watched her try to hide how bad it was, watched her smile and say she was fine when we both knew she wasn't. The medical debt crushed us. $23,000. Might as well have been 23 million. That's when Sterling Voss found me. I was at Romano's Construction, working a demolition job, swinging a sledgehammer at drywall, and trying not to think about the collection agency that had called that morning. A man in an expensive suit appeared in the doorway, looking completely out of place among the dust and debris. "Callahan Reed?" he said. "Who's asking?" "My name is Remy Kincaid. I work for someone who's interested in your skills." I lowered the sledgehammer. "I'm a web designer and a day laborer. Those skills?" "No. Your other skills. Your survival skills. Your hunger." He handed me a business card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering. Sterling Voss, Investment Capital. Mr. Voss is looking for someone smart, motivated, and desperate enough to take a chance. You fit the profile. If you're interested in changing your life, be at this address tomorrow at 8 p.m. He left before I could ask questions. I should have thrown the card away. I should have known that when something sounds too good to be true, it's because someone's about to ask you to do something you can't take back. But Isolde was sick, and I was drowning. And desperation makes you brave in all the wrong ways. I went to the address. The building was in the financial district, all glass and steel, and the kind of security that makes you feel simultaneously protected and threatened. Remy Kincaid met me in the lobby, led me to a private elevator that required a key card and a thumbprint. We rose in silence, my ears popping as we climbed. "Advice," Remy said as the elevator hummed upward. "Mr. Voss doesn't like hesitation. He asks you a question, you answer. He makes you an offer, you decide." Quickly. What kind of offer? The kind that changes everything. The elevator opened into a penthouse that looked like it had been designed by someone who thought subtlety was a weakness. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the city lights, art that I recognized from museum catalogs, furniture that cost more than I'd earned in my entire life. Sterling Voss stood by the windows, backlit by the city, looking like a man who'd conquered gravity itself. He was 50, maybe 55, with silver hair and the kind of face that made you think of senators and CEOs. When he turned to look at me, his eyes were the color of winter. "Callahan Reed," he said, "the orphan who builds websites and swings hammers, the man who loves a dying girl." My hands clenched. "Don't talk about her." He smiled. "Protective? Good. Love makes us protective. It also makes us vulnerable." He gestured to a leather chair. "Sit. Let's talk about what you want." I didn't sit. "How do you know about Isolda?" "I know about everyone I invest in. And make no mistake, Callahan, I'm considering investing in you." He moved to a bar cart, poured 2 glasses of something amber. "Your girlfriend has pneumonia, complicated by an underlying autoimmune condition. The bills are crushing you. You've taken out predatory loans. You're 3 months from complete financial collapse." He offered me a glass. "I can make all of that disappear." I took the glass but didn't drink. "In exchange for what?" "8 months of your life. I need someone I can trust. Someone smart enough to learn quickly and hungry enough to be loyal. I have business interests that require a particular kind of attention. Legitimate business, but complex. If you work for me, if you do exactly what I ask without question, I'll pay off every dollar of Isolda's medical debt. I'll cover her treatment, the best doctors, everything. And at the end of 8 months, I'll pay you $12 million. The number hit me like a physical force. That's insane. That's what your loyalty is worth to me. Nobody pays someone $12 million for 8 months of work. I do. Because what I'm asking for is more than work. I'm asking for complete discretion, complete obedience, no questions, no hesitation. 8 months of your life in exchange for a lifetime of security. You'll be able to give Isolde everything. The best care, a house, a future without financial fear. All you have to do is work for me and keep your mouth shut." I should have asked what the work was. I should have demanded details, contracts, clarity. But all I could think about was Isolde in her studio apartment, trying to paint between coughing fits, pretending she wasn't scared. "What's the work?" I managed. "Various tasks. I'll provide complete training. You'll learn about investment strategies, asset management, client relations. Think of it as an intensive MBA program, except you get paid instead of going into debt." "And if I say no?" "Then you leave here and you watch the woman you love get sicker while you work 3 jobs that will never be enough. Your choice, Callahan. But I need your answer now." I looked out at the city lights, at the sprawl of possibilities I'd never been able to reach. $12 million. Isolde's medical bills paid. A chance at the life we'd dreamed about in her apartment while the smell of pho drifted up from below. "I'll do it," I said. Sterling smiled. "Excellent. You start tomorrow. Remy will provide details. Oh, and Callahan? One more thing. You can't tell Isolde about our arrangement. Not about the money, not about the timeline, nothing. As far as she's concerned, you got a new job in finance. That's all." "Why?" "Because I need to know you can keep secrets, even from people you love, especially from people you love." That should have been the warning. That should have been the moment I walked away. But I was thinking about Isolde, about giving her a future, and I told myself that secrets were a small price to pay for salvation. I told myself a lot of lies that night. The next morning, I told Isolde I'd gotten a job at an investment firm. She was so happy she cried, holding me in her small apartment, telling me she was proud of me. I held her, and felt the lie sit heavy in my chest like a stone. The work started immediately. Remy picked me up each morning at 6, drove me to Sterling's building, and for the next 12 hours, I learned. Financial markets, investment strategies, due diligence procedures. It was legitimate, exactly as Sterling had promised. Intense, complex, but legitimate. Sterling paid Isolde's medical bills that first week. All of them. Just gone, like they'd never existed. She called me sobbing with relief, and I told myself I'd made the right choice. 2 months in, the work changed. "I need you to attend a meeting," Sterling said one morning. "Take notes. Observe. Say nothing." The meeting was in a warehouse in the industrial district. The men there didn't look like investors. They looked like the kind of people who made other people disappear. Sterling conducted business with them in a language of implications and careful omissions. I took notes, my hands shaking, beginning to understand what I'd actually agreed to. Afterward, in the car, I turned to Sterling. "What was that?" "Business." "That wasn't business. That was—" "Careful, Callahan. Remember our arrangement. No questions. You work for me. You keep your mouth shut. 8 months. That's all I'm asking." "I'm not doing anything illegal." "You're not doing anything. You're observing, learning, building value for yourself. Unless you want to break our contract, I can arrange that. Of course, all of Isolde's bills will immediately come due. Plus penalties. Plus interest. You'd owe about $40,000 by end of day. Your choice." I stayed. I told myself I was just taking notes, just observing, not really participating. I told myself I could do this for 8 months and then walk away clean, money in hand, conscience bruised, but intact. Month 3, Sterling had me delivering packages. "Don't open them. Don't ask what's inside. Just deliver them to these addresses." Month 4, I was sitting in on meetings with city officials, watching Sterling hand them envelopes, watching them nod and smile and agree to things I couldn't quite hear. Month 5, I realized I was in too deep to ever get out clean. I'd check on Isolde between tasks, meet her for dinner, hold her hand across restaurant tables. She was getting better, color returning to her face, her laugh coming easier. She'd started painting again, real work, ambitious pieces. She'd gotten into a gallery show. She was becoming the artist she'd always wanted to be, and I was becoming someone I didn't recognize in mirrors. "You seem different," she said one night, her hand in mine. "This job is changing you." "I'm just tired. Long hours." "It's more than that. You're distant, like you're keeping secrets." "I'm not keeping secrets." She studied my face in the candlelight. "Callahan, if something's wrong, you can tell me. Whatever it is. We face things together, remember?" I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to confess, to cry, to ask her what I should do. But Sterling's words echoed in my head. "You can't tell Isolde about our arrangement." "Everything's fine," I said. "I promise." That was lie number 100. I'd stopped counting. Month 6 arrived like a prison sentence I'd imposed on myself. I woke up each morning in the apartment I'd rented, nicer than anywhere I'd ever lived, paid for by Sterling's advance on my salary, and I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and wondered who I'd become. The worst part wasn't the moral compromise. The worst part was how easy it had become. Sterling would call, I would go. He would hand me an envelope, I would deliver it. He would introduce me to men with dead eyes and expensive watches, and I would shake their hands and pretend I belonged there. I'd learned the language of elegant criminality, the way you could say one thing and mean another, the way you could destroy someone's life with a signature and a smile. I was good at it. That's what haunted me at 3 in the morning when sleep wouldn't come. I was naturally good at the very thing that was eroding my soul. Isolde had fully recovered by then. She was radiant, thriving, her art gaining recognition. A collector had bought 3 of her pieces for serious money. She was talking about getting a better studio, maybe traveling to paint landscapes. Her eyes sparkled with possibility. Every time I saw her happiness, I told myself it was worth it. I'd sold pieces of my integrity to buy her health and opportunity. Wasn't that love? Wasn't that sacrifice? Or was it just cowardice dressed up as devotion? We were having dinner at her favorite restaurant, the Vietnamese place below her apartment, now a tradition rather than a necessity, when she told me about the letter. "I got accepted," she said, her whole face illuminated with joy. "Accepted to what?" "The residency program in Florence. 6 months in Italy, studying with master painters. It's fully funded. Callahan, it's everything I've ever wanted." My stomach dropped. 6 months? "I leave in 3 weeks. I know it's sudden, but this opportunity, I have to take it. Say you're happy for me." I was happy for her. I was also terrified. 3 weeks meant she'd leave before my 8 months with Sterling was up. She'd be gone, safe in Italy, painting in the Tuscan sun, while I finished whatever dark work Sterling had planned. "I'm happy for you," I said, and meant it. "You deserve this." She reached across the table, took my hand. "Come with me." "What?" "Come to Florence. You can work remotely, can't you? We could have 6 months together in Italy. Paint and wine and actually enjoying life instead of just surviving it." Everything in me wanted to say yes, to walk away from Sterling, from the money, from the whole corrupt machine I'd become part of, to choose love over everything else. But I thought about the $12 million. 2 more months and I'd be free. 2 more months and I could give Isolde a life beyond her wildest dreams. If I left now, I'd have nothing. Worse than nothing. I'd have the knowledge that I'd compromised myself for no ultimate reward. "I can't," I said. "This job, it's a commitment. I can't just leave." Something flickered in her eyes. Disappointment. Maybe suspicion. "It's just a job, Callahan. It's our future. The money I'm making. I don't care about money. I care about us. About you. This job is changing you, and not in a good way." 2 more months, I said. "Give me 2 more months to finish this project, and then we'll go anywhere you want. I'll have enough saved that we can travel. You can paint. We can actually build the life we've talked about." She pulled her hand back. "What if I don't want to wait 2 more months? What if I want you to choose me now?" And there it was. The question that would define everything. I could feel the future splitting into 2 paths. Choose Isolde, choose love, choose integrity. Walk away from Sterling with nothing but my conscience and the woman I loved. Or choose the money, choose security, choose the power to give Isolde everything she deserved, even if she didn't know the cost. I'm going to pause here because I need you to think about something. Really think about it. If you were in my position, what would you choose? The person you love, right now, with nothing but uncertainty ahead. Or 2 more months of moral compromise in exchange for a lifetime of security. Drop a comment below with your honest answer. Because I promise you, whatever you think you'd choose, you don't really know until you're standing in that moment, feeling the weight of the decision crush your chest. I made my choice that night in the restaurant. I need to finish this job, I said. It's 2 months, Isolde. We can handle 2 months apart. We've handled worse. She looked at me for a long time, and I watched something shift in her expression. A door closing, a light dimming. Okay, she said quietly. 2 months. But I could hear the subtext. You chose wrong. 3 weeks later, I took her to the airport. We stood in the terminal, her backpack full of art supplies, her eyes full of something that looked like grief. I love you, she said. I love you too. 2 months and I'm there. I promise. She kissed me, soft and sad, and then she walked through security without looking back. I returned to Sterling's world with a fury that surprised me. I worked harder, longer, faster. If I was going to sell my soul, I'd at least make sure I got top dollar for it. Sterling noticed. You're angry, he said one afternoon in his office. Good. Angry people accomplish things. Happy people get complacent. I'm not angry. I'm focused. You're angry that you chose money over the girl. But you'll see. You made the right choice. Love is temporary. Power is permanent. You don't know anything about love. I know everything about love. I know it's the most expensive commodity in the world. People will do anything for it. Sacrifice anything. Betray anything. Love makes people weak. Love makes people human. He smiled. Exactly. Month 7. Sterling introduced me to a woman named Thalia Crane. She was a forensic accountant, beautiful in a severe way, smart as a blade. Her job was to make Sterling's money untraceable, to build labyrinths of shell companies and offshore accounts. Callahan will be working with you, Sterling told her. Teach him everything. I spent the next 3 weeks learning the architecture of financial crime, how to hide money, how to move it across borders, how to make it appear and disappear like a magic trick. Talia was a patient teacher, and I was a diligent student. You're good at this, she said one evening, reviewing my work. You have the mind for it. I'm not sure that's a compliment. It's an observation. Most people can't hold the complexity in their heads. You can. You see the patterns. It's a gift. A gift I never wanted. She looked at me with something like pity. Nobody wants the gifts that define them. We just use them and hope we can live with the consequences. I talked to Isolde every day. Video calls across time zones, her face pixelated and beautiful on my screen. She'd tell me about Florence, about the light, about the paintings she was creating. I'd tell her sanitized versions of my days, carefully edited to remove anything resembling truth. 1 month left, she said during a call. Then you're coming here, right? You promised. I promised. Callahan, I need you to understand something. When you come here, we're starting over. Whatever this job has done to you, whatever's been keeping you distant, it ends. We go back to being us. Deal? Deal. Another lie. I was collecting them like scars. The last month accelerated into a blur. Sterling had me doing more, observing more, understanding more. I saw the full scope of his operation, the bribery, the money laundering, the political manipulation. I watched him destroy a competitor with nothing but 3 phone calls and a well-placed lie. I watched him own people, buy them, break them. And I said nothing, did nothing, just counted down the days until I could take the money and run. 10 days before the end of my 8 months, Sterling called me to his office. "We need to talk about your payment," he said. Sterling's office felt different that day. Smaller, like the walls were closing in, or I was finally seeing it clearly for the first time. A beautiful cage where men sold their humanity for comfort. $12 million, Sterling said, sliding a manila envelope across his desk. As promised, cashier's check, completely legal, completely clean. You've earned it, Callahan. 8 months of perfect loyalty. I stared at the envelope, my entire life's trajectory compressed into paper and ink. Freedom, security, the ability to give Isolde everything I'd promised myself I'd give her. I reached for it. Sterling's hand slammed down on top of the envelope. "But before you take it, let's talk about what happens next." "What do you mean? Our agreement ends. I take the money, I leave. I never speak about anything I've seen." "That was the arrangement, yes. But circumstances have changed. You've become too valuable to lose." My blood went cold. That wasn't the deal. Deals evolve. You understand my business now. You know where the bodies are buried, metaphorically speaking. You're smart, capable, and completely compromised. You're exactly the kind of asset I build empires on. I'm not staying. We had an agreement. And I'm offering you a new one. Stay and work for me permanently. I'll pay you $2 million a year plus bonuses. You'll have access to power you can't imagine. Or what? He slid a second envelope across the desk. This one was thicker. Or you take your $12 million and walk away, and I make sure everyone you care about knows exactly how you earned it. My hands trembled as I opened the second envelope. Photographs, dozens of them. Me at the warehouse meetings, me delivering packages, me sitting across from men I knew were criminals. And worse, documents, ledgers, records, all carefully edited to make it look like I wasn't an observer, but a participant. A willing, eager participant. You framed me. I documented you. There's a difference. Every task I gave you, I made sure there was a record. Nothing that could be traced to me, of course, but plenty that could be traced to you. If these materials were to reach the FBI or the press, or say, a young artist in Florence checking her email. He let the threat hang in the air. You bastard. I prefer pragmatist. Here's the reality, Callahan. You can work for me and get very rich and very powerful. Or you can try to walk away, and I'll destroy your life. I'll send these documents to Isolde, to the authorities, to anyone who matters. You'll lose the girl, lose your freedom, lose everything. All because you were too principled to make the smart choice. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to grab the expensive art off his walls and smash it. I wanted to scream. But I just stood there, paralyzed by the trap I'd walked into 8 months ago. Think about it, Sterling said. You have 72 hours to decide. Work for me permanently, or lose everything. Your choice. I left his office in a daze. Walked through the city streets for hours, not seeing anything, just moving. How had I been so stupid? How had I not seen this coming? I called Isolde that night. She answered on the third ring, her face filling my screen, Florence golden behind her. "Hey," she said, smiling. "You look terrible. Everything okay?" "I miss you." "Miss you too. 5 more days and you're here. I've been planning everything. There's this perfect little restaurant by the Arno, and I want to show you the Uffizi and— Callahan, are you crying?" I was. I didn't even realize it until she said something. I'm fine, just tired. You're not fine. Talk to me. What's wrong? And I wanted to. God, I wanted to tell her everything. The whole sordid story. The money, the lies, the trap. I wanted to confess and beg forgiveness and ask her what I should do. But I could see her there in Florence, backlit by art and possibility, finally becoming who she was meant to be. If I told her the truth, I'd destroy that. She'd come home, try to help me, get dragged into the mess I'd created. Or maybe I was just a coward who'd gotten too comfortable with lies. I'm fine, I said. Just excited to see you. We talked for another hour. She told me about her paintings, about the gallery interest she was getting, about the life she was building. Every word was another nail in my chest. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and started researching. Sterling Voss, his business, his history. There had to be something I could use against him, some leverage, some way out. I found nothing. He was too careful, too protected, layers upon layers of legal insulation. I had 69 hours left to decide. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I played out scenarios in my head. Take the money and run. He'd destroy me, and Isolde would hate me. Stay and work for him. I'd become exactly the kind of man I'd always despised. Go to the authorities. I'd probably go to jail based on the evidence he'd fabricated. Every option ended in disaster. 55 hours left. I went to see Remy Kincaid, found him at a coffee shop near Sterling's building. I need help, I said, sitting down across from him. No. You don't even know what I'm going to ask. Doesn't matter. Whatever you're thinking, stop. Sterling always wins. Always. People who go against him end up destroyed or dead. Take the job offer. Make your peace with it. I can't. Then take the money and disappear. Leave the country. Change your name. It's the only way. He'll go after Isolde. Remy's expression softened slightly. Yeah, he probably will. That's his leverage. You stay because leaving costs too much. He leaned forward. Want some advice? There are worse things than being rich and morally compromised. At least you'll be comfortable. Is that what you tell yourself? Every single day. He stood up. Good luck, Callahan. Whatever you choose. 42 hours left. I walked through the city, ending up at the laundromat on 5th and Morrison. 2 a.m., fluorescent lights humming, machines spinning. The place where I'd met Isolde 3 years ago, when I was poor and clean and simple. I sat in the same plastic chair where she'd been reading that first night, and I tried to remember who I'd been before Sterling Voss made me an offer. Before I chose money over integrity. Before I learned that every choice costs something, and sometimes the bill doesn't come due until you can't afford to pay it. My phone buzzed. A text from Sterling. Time's running out. Make the smart choice. And that's when I realized something. Sterling thought he knew me, thought he understood what I valued. He'd built his entire trap around the assumption that I'd choose comfort over conscience, that I'd protect Isolde by sacrificing myself, that I was predictable. But there was one thing he hadn't accounted for. He didn't know how much I'd learned in 8 months. He didn't know that Talia Crane had taught me everything about hiding money and building untraceable trails. He didn't know that I'd been paying attention not just to what Sterling did, but how he did it. And he didn't know that I'd been making copies. every document I'd ever seen, every ledger, every photograph, every piece of evidence of Sterling's real business. I'd been quietly, carefully documenting it all. Not for leverage, not for protection, just because some part of me knew I might need it someday. I had 36 hours left. I spent them building an insurance policy. The thing about secrets is that they only have power if someone cares about them staying hidden. Sterling had built his entire empire on the assumption that his secrets were safely buried under layers of legal protection and careful intimidation. He'd gotten comfortable, arrogant. That was his mistake. I worked for 30 straight hours, sleeping in 2-hour bursts, living on coffee and adrenaline. Everything I'd copied over 8 months, I organized into a coherent narrative. Financial records showing money laundering, photographs documenting meetings with known criminals, emails discussing bribes, audio recordings I'd made on my phone of conversations that should never have been recorded. None of it was admissible in court. I wasn't law enforcement. I'd obtained everything under ethically questionable circumstances. But that didn't matter. I wasn't building a legal case. I was building a weapon. I encrypted everything, uploaded it to 3 separate secure servers with dead man switches. If anything happened to me, if I didn't check in every 72 hours, the entire archive would automatically send to the FBI, the SEC, the IRS, and every major newspaper in the country. Then I sent Sterling a message. "We need to talk. Your office. Now." He responded immediately. "Come on up." I took the elevator to his penthouse, my heart hammering. This would either free me or destroy me. No middle ground. Sterling was waiting by the windows, backlit by the city, looking amused. 12 hours early. Have you made your decision? I have. And? I'm walking away. With my 12 million. And you're going to let me. He laughed. Am I? And why would I do that? I pulled out my phone, showed him a single photograph from my archive. Him shaking hands with Senator Graves, an envelope visible on the table between them. Because if you don't, every piece of evidence I've collected over 8 months goes public. Everything, Sterling. The money laundering, the bribes, the extortion. All of it. His smile disappeared. You're bluffing. Try me. He moved toward his desk, toward the drawer where I knew he kept a gun. You don't understand what you're doing. I own people. Powerful people. You release that information, you don't just destroy me. You destroy a network. And that network will destroy you. Maybe. But you'll already be destroyed. And honestly, I'm okay with that. His hand hovered over the drawer. We were at the moment I'd been dreading and expecting. The point where talking stopped and consequences began. You open that drawer, I said quietly, and the dead man's switch activates. Everything goes public in 60 seconds. Your choice. Sterling stared at me, really looked at me, maybe for the first time since we'd met, seeing not a desperate foster kid he could manipulate, but someone who'd learned from him, adapted, become dangerous. You've changed, he said. You changed me. And now what? You take your money and ride off into the sunset with your painter girlfriend? Live happily ever after? Something like that. It won't work. You're compromised now. You've done things, seen things. You're not the person she fell in love with anymore. That's the real trap, Callahan. Not the money, not the leverage. The fact that you can never go back to who you were. His words hit harder than any threat, because he was right. I'd changed. Isolde would see it. She'd know something was fundamentally different about me, even if she couldn't name it. But I'd come too far to stop now. "I'll take my chances," I said. "Here's the deal. I walk out of here with my 12 million. You never contact me again. You never go after Isolde. You never speak my name. And in exchange, your secrets stay buried. But if anything happens to me, if Isolde gets so much as a threatening email, if I even suspect you're interfering in my life, everything goes public." Mutually assured destruction. Exactly. Sterling walked to the bar cart, poured himself a drink. His hands were steady. "You know what the worst part is? I'm actually proud of you. You learned well. 8 months ago, you would have just taken the money and hoped for the best. Now you think like me. Plan like me. I'm nothing like you. Keep telling yourself that." He drained his glass. "Fine. You win this round. Take your money. Disappear. But Callahan, you're wrong about one thing." "What's that?" "You think you chose love over money, but you didn't. You chose both. You're taking the 12 million I promised you. You're walking away rich. You just want to pretend you're noble because you didn't sell your soul permanently. But you still sold it. For 8 months, you were mine. That doesn't wash off." I picked up the envelope with the cashier's check. $12 million. The weight of it felt different now. Not like salvation, like evidence. "Maybe you're right," I said. "But I'm still leaving." I walked to the elevator, pressed the button. As the doors opened, Sterling called after me. "One more thing. When you get to Florence, when you see Isolde, when you try to go back to playing house with your artist girlfriend, remember this. Every kiss will taste like lies. Every 'I love you' will carry the weight of everything you're not telling her. You think you can just show up and pretend the last 8 months didn't happen? You think love is strong enough to survive the person you've become?" The elevator doors started to close. I didn't answer him, because I didn't have an answer. I went straight to the airport from Sterling's office, didn't stop at my apartment, didn't pack, just bought a ticket to Florence on my phone and went. I needed to get out of the city, out of the country, away from everything that smelled like Sterling Voss and moral compromise. On the plane, I stared at the cashier's check. $12 million. I could deposit it, invest it, use it to build the life I'd promised Isolde. Or I could tear it up, walk away from it completely, show up in Florence with nothing but myself. Would that make me clean again? Would poverty erase the last 8 months? I thought about what Sterling had said, that I'd chosen both love and money, that I wanted to have my conscience and my fortune too. He wasn't wrong. The flight to Florence took 12 hours. I didn't sleep, just sat there, playing out scenarios in my head. How to tell Isolde, what to tell her, whether to tell her anything at all. By the time we landed, I still didn't have answers. I found her studio in the golden light of late afternoon. A converted warehouse space overlooking the Arno, the kind of place she'd dreamed about in her tiny apartment above the pho restaurant. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step feeling like walking toward judgment. She opened the door on the second knock. For a moment, she just stared at me, surprise and joy and something else, suspicion, crossing her face. "You're early," she said. I couldn't wait any longer. She pulled me into the studio, into her arms, and we held each other in the Florence light. She smelled like paint and lavender. She felt like home. "I missed you so much," she whispered. "These 2 months have been—" "Callahan, you're shaking. What's wrong?" "I need to tell you something." She pulled back, studying my face. "You're scaring me. Can we sit down?" We sat on the floor of her studio, surrounded by her paintings. She'd been working on a series about shadows and light, about the way darkness defines beauty. The irony wasn't lost on me. I told her everything. I'd imagined this moment 1,000 times during the flight. Isolde would scream, cry, throw me out. Or she'd forgive me immediately, tell me it was okay, that she understood. Or she'd sit in silence, processing, and I wouldn't know what she was thinking. None of my imaginings matched reality. She listened to the whole story without interrupting. Her face went through a dozen different expressions: shock, anger, hurt, understanding, disgust, sympathy, cycling through emotions like weather patterns. When I finished, when I'd confessed everything from Sterling's initial offer to the final confrontation, she sat in silence for a long time. The Florence light shifted through the windows, afternoon becoming evening. Finally, she spoke. "You lied to me for 8 months." "Yes." "You worked for a criminal." "Yes." "You compromised everything you believed in." "Yes." "And you did it for me, to pay my medical bills." That's how it started. But by the end, I don't know what I was doing it for anymore. She stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the river. "I would have rather died than have you do this." The words hit like bullets. "Isolde, no, listen to me. I would have rather died than have you sell yourself to save me. Do you understand that? My life isn't worth your soul. Your life is worth everything." She turned to face me, tears on her face. "Then why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you give me the choice?" "Because you would have told me not to do it." "Exactly. Because it was wrong, Callahan. Because there are some prices you don't pay, no matter what you get in return." "I thought I was saving you." "You were saving yourself. From the pain of losing me, from the grief. You made yourself feel better by telling yourself it was sacrifice. But really, you just couldn't handle the alternative." Her words excavated something I'd been hiding from myself. She was right. I'd told myself I was being noble, but really, I'd been selfish. I couldn't bear the thought of losing her, so I'd made a choice that kept her alive, but destroyed the relationship anyway. "So what now?" I asked. "You hate me? Want me to leave?" She wiped her eyes, took a shaky breath. "I don't hate you. I'm furious and heartbroken and disappointed, but I don't hate you." "Then what?" "I don't know. You lied to me. You became someone I don't recognize. But you also, God, Callahan, you also saved my life and stood up to a man who could have destroyed you and came here to tell me the truth when you could have just kept lying." She sat back down across from me. "Show me the check." I pulled it from my pocket, handed it to her. She stared at it for a long time. $12 million, she said. "We could do anything with this. Travel the world. Buy a house. Never worry about money again." "I know. Do you want to keep it?" The question hung between us. Did I? After everything, did I want the money? "I don't know," I admitted. "Part of me thinks I earned it. Survived 8 months in hell, I deserve something. But another part thinks it's poisoned, that every dollar is a reminder of who I became." Isolde tore the check in half. I stared at her. "What are you doing?" "Making the choice you should have made 8 months ago." She tore it again, into quarters. We don't need his money. We don't want his money. We're going to build our life the way we always planned, through work and effort and actually being good people. Isolde, that's 12 million. I don't care if it's $1 billion. I don't want anything from Sterling Voss, and neither do you. Not really. She tore the check into smaller and smaller pieces, then walked to the window and threw them out. We watched the pieces flutter down toward the Arno like snow. You're insane, I said. Maybe, but I'd rather be broke and insane than rich and compromised. She turned back to me. But Callahan, here's the thing. I forgive you for the choice you made. I understand why you made it, even if I hate that you did. But the lying? That's harder. You looked me in the eye for 8 months and lied. How do I trust you again? I don't know, but I want to try. I want to be worthy of your trust. Then you have to earn it back. No more secrets. No more doing things for my own good without telling me. We're partners or we're nothing. Partners, I agreed. She sat down next to me, took my hand. Tell me something true, right now. Something you've never told anyone. I thought about it. I'm terrified. Every single day. Terrified I'm not good enough, that I'll end up back where I started, that everyone who ever said a foster kid couldn't make something of himself was right. That's why I took Sterling's offer. Not just to save you, but to prove I could be someone who mattered. You already mattered. To me. That's what you never understood. We sat there on the floor of her Florence studio, hands intertwined, trying to figure out how to rebuild something we'd both thought was broken beyond repair. So what happens now? I asked. Now? You stay here in Florence. You find a job doing something legitimate. I paint. We eat too much pasta and drink too much wine, and we work on being honest with each other, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Just like that? Back to normal? It's not back to normal. It's forward to something new. We're different people than we were a year ago. But maybe different can be good. Maybe we can build something better than what we had. What about Sterling? The information I have on him. Keep the dead man's switch. Protect yourself. But don't become him. Don't spend your life looking over your shoulder, playing power games. Just walk away. Build a life he can't touch. It sounded simple when she said it. Maybe it could be. We spent that night talking. Really talking the way we used to in the laundromat at 3 a.m., when the world was quiet and it was just us. I told her about every meeting, every compromise, every moment I'd felt myself slipping. She told me about Florence, about the art she'd created, about the person she'd become without me. We cried, we fought, we forgave. By sunrise, we'd built something fragile and honest and new. I stayed in Florence, found work doing web design for local businesses, legitimate work that paid modest money and didn't require me to check my conscience at the door. Isolde painted. We lived in a small apartment, ate at cheap restaurants, walked along the Arno in the evenings. It was nothing like the life $12 million could have bought us. It was better. 3 months after I arrived in Florence, Remy Kincaid sent me a news article. Sterling Voss had been indicted on money laundering charges, not because of anything I'd done. The FBI had apparently been building a case independently for years. He'd finally made a mistake, gotten careless, and they'd pounced. He was facing 20 years in federal prison. Guess you don't need your insurance policy anymore, Remy's message read. Congratulations on getting out when you did. I showed the article to Isolde. We read it together, sitting on our apartment balcony in the golden Italian light. Feel vindicated? She asked. I feel tired and grateful I'm not there anymore. Think you made the right choice? Walking away from the money? I looked at her, at the paint under her fingernails, at the way the light caught her face, at the life we were building together, one honest day at a time. Yeah, I said. I think I did. She kissed me. Good answer. I wish I could tell you that everything was perfect after that we never struggled, never fought, never doubted. But that would be a lie, and I'd promised not to lie anymore. The truth is, rebuilding trust takes time. There were days Isolde looked at me and I could see her wondering if I was keeping secrets. There were nights I woke up thinking about the $12 million we'd thrown away, wondering if I'd made the right choice. But slowly, day by day, we built something real. Something that wasn't founded on secrets or money or compromise, but on the decision to keep choosing each other, even when it was hard. Isolde's art career flourished. She had shows in galleries across Europe. Critics called her one of the most important emerging painters of her generation. I built my web design business into something sustainable and ethical. We made enough to live comfortably, to travel occasionally, to save for a future. We got married in a small ceremony in Florence, just us and a handful of friends. No expensive venue, no elaborate dress, just two people who'd almost lost each other choosing to try again. On our wedding night, lying in bed in our small apartment, Isolde turned to me. Do you ever regret it, tearing up the check? I thought about it honestly. Sometimes, when rent is due, or the car breaks down, or we can't afford something we want. But then I think about who I was becoming with Sterling, and I know I wouldn't trade where we are for any amount of money. Even 12 million? Even 12 million. Liar, she said, but she was smiling. Okay, sometimes I regret it a lot, but I regret it with you, which makes it bearable. She laughed, and the sound filled our small apartment with something more valuable than money: possibility. 5 years after that night in Sterling's office, Isolde and I were back in the States for her gallery show in New York. It was her biggest exhibition yet, career-defining work. The opening was packed with collectors, critics, people willing to pay 6 figures for her paintings. Across the gallery, I saw a familiar face. Talia Crane, the forensic accountant who'd taught me how to hide money. She looked different, older, tired. She walked over, glass of wine in hand. Callahan Reed, I heard you got out. I did. Smart. I should have done the same. She glanced around the gallery. This is your wife's work? It's extraordinary. She is. You chose well. Love over money. It's rare. I chose both for a while. Almost destroyed me. But you walked away. That's the hard part. Most people can't. She paused. Sterling died in prison, you know. Heart attack. 6 months into his sentence. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not grief. Just a distant acknowledgement that a chapter had truly closed. I'm sorry, I said, not sure if I meant it. Don't be. He built his whole life on the belief that power and money were all that mattered. Died alone in a cell. Not exactly the ending he imagined. She finished her wine. Take care of yourself, Callahan, and that extraordinary wife of yours. She disappeared into the crowd. That night, after the show, Isolde and I walked through New York, past the building where Sterling's office had been. It had been converted into luxury condos. No trace of him left. Think we should go back to Florence? Isolde asked. Is that what you want? I want to be wherever you are, but I also want to raise our daughter somewhere beautiful. I stopped walking. Our daughter? She smiled, her hand moving to her stomach. Surprise! I found out this morning. We're having a baby. I pulled her close, there on the New York street, in the shadow of the building where I'd almost sold my soul. A baby. A future. A life built on choices that had been painful, but right. Florence, I said. Let's raise her in Florence. Perfect. We stood there, holding each other, while the city moved around us. I thought about the question Sterling had asked me 5 years ago. Love or money? The truth was, it was never really a choice between two things. It was a choice about what kind of person I wanted to be, what kind of life I wanted to build, what I was willing to sacrifice, and what I'd protect at any cost. I'd made so many wrong choices before I made the right one. I'd lied, compromised, convinced myself that the ends justified the means. But in the end, I'd chosen truth over comfort, love over security, the hard right over the easy wrong. And standing there with Isolde, with our daughter growing inside her, with a future stretching out before us, uncertain but honest, I knew I'd choose the same way every single time. Sterling had been wrong about one thing. Love doesn't make you weak. Love makes you brave enough to walk away from everything else. That's the thing about choices. They define you. Not the easy ones. Everyone makes those. But the hard ones. The ones where every option costs something. Where there's no clear right answer. Where you have to decide what you value more than comfort or safety or money. Those choices show you who you are. I chose love. And love chose me back. We returned to Florence the next week, to our small apartment, our modest life, our work that meant something beyond profit. Isolde painted throughout her pregnancy, creating a new series about beginnings and second chances. I expanded my business, hired a small team, built something sustainable. Our daughter, Elena, was born on a spring morning, Florence blooming outside the hospital window. When I held her for the first time, I thought about the life I could have given her with $12 million. Private schools, trust funds, a childhood free from financial worry. Then I thought about the life I could give her instead. Parents who loved each other honestly. A home built on integrity. The knowledge that some things matter more than money. I chose the second life for her. And as she grew, learning to walk on the banks of the Arno, learning to paint from her mother, learning to laugh at her father's terrible Italian, I watched her become exactly who she was meant to be, unshaped by the compromise and corruption that had almost consumed me. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about that moment in Sterling's office. The weight of the decision. The terrible certainty that whatever I chose, I'd lose something. But I also think about what I gained. A life lived honestly. A love that survived the worst of me. A daughter who will never know what it's like to have a father who chose money over everything else. Sterling was right about one thing. The choice did change everything. Just not in the way he thought it would. I'm Callahan Reed. I chose love over money. And I'd do it again. Every single time. For the rest of my life. Because in the end, the only wealth that matters is the life you build with the people who make you want to be better than you are. Everything else is just paper and ink, blowing away on the wind. If you've stayed with me through this entire story, through every choice and consequence and hard-won redemption, drop a comment below. Tell me, if you had to choose between $12 million and the person you love, what would you do? Really think about it, because someday, in some form, life will ask you that question, and your answer will define everything that comes after. Subscribe if you believe some things matter more than money, or if you don't, but you want to. Either way, I'll be here, telling stories about the choices that change everything.